目標は最終兵器メタルギア。ファミコン用カセットメタルギア発売中。
Konami.
So, technically this didn't take a year, right? Good evening, my darling batlings, and welcome back to my castle. Today, I'm starting a first for this series, a marathon retrospective of one of my all-time favorite gaming franchises, Metal Gear. Let's roll the snazzy title card. Metal Gear, or Metal Gear Solid if you're an uncultured swine, is a series near and dear to my cyborg vamp elf heart, and my history with it dates back to April of 2004 with, I think it was issue 110 of Tips and Tricks magazine. I guess they had a spy motif going on that month because the cover story was a guide for 007 Everything or Nothing, which, side note, was also my introduction to the James Bond franchise, but my eye was drawn to another featured walkthrough in that issue, one on a game called Metal Gear Solid: The Twin Snakes. Its industrial espionage setting looks so badass to 11-year-old me, so I went to my mom and said, "Hey, Mom, can we see if this cool game is at Blockbuster after school?" And my dear sweet mother, she just looked at me like a cow looks at an oncoming train, and she leaned right down next to me and said, "Sure." So we went to Blockbuster, I darted to the game section, scoured the new GameCube game rentals until I saw it, the game I'd been so tantalized by. But there was a, teensy problem. That big, bold M rating. See, my mom thought that all M-rated games were either Gorefests or Grand Theft Auto, so you see, I struck a deal with her that I'd only play it with the blood turned off. Thankfully, this game actually did have that feature, and I managed to bluff my way into that. I took it home, booted it up, and I never made it past the first few hours because even with a guide on hand, I couldn't wrap my hand around the concept of I go sneaky-neaky-neaky-neaky-neaky-neaky-neaky-neaky. A few years pass, I'm in high school now, I'm visiting my grandparents, and my mom decides to take me to a Halo 3 tournament at a local mom-and-pop game store called Game On. Rest in peace, you beautiful, beautiful store. I come in third place, win $20 in store credit, and I decide to peruse the shelves to see what they've got for $20 or less. I brought my PS2 with me for the trip, so that limited my options for anything I'd actually be able to play while I was there. But there, I saw a familiar face, one from another magazine I was into at the time, PSM. Metal Gear Solid 3, Snake Eater. I buy it, take it back home, or rather, to my grandparents' home, and I spend days playing nothing but that game and getting engrossed in its world and characters. And keep in mind, I did this all without a guide because at my grandparents' house, they didn't have Wi-Fi, and the only computer they had ran on Windows 95 and had dial-up internet, so no game facts for me. Needless to say, I was finally hooked. Over the next few trips to my grandparents, we'd go back to Game On every now and then, and I'd pick up the original Metal Gear Solid, as well as Metal Gear Solid 2. In 2011, when I'm in college, I finally got my hands on a PS3 as a Christmas gift, and alongside it was Metal Gear Solid 4. To make a long story short, I was a late bloomer to the Metal Gear fandom, but it's still one of my favorite sagas in any medium ever. But there's a bit of a hole in my experience with this series I love so much. I've only played through the original 2 MSX games that started it all, one each. As much as I'd like to skip ahead to the entry that was most people's first Metal Gear game, Metal Gear Solid, I wouldn't be doing my due diligence if I didn't take a look at the MSX duology. I originally planned on tackling both in one video, but the first game alone gave me plenty to talk about, so we'll be taking these on one at a time. Without further Mountain Dew, let's get started with Metal Gear for the MSX2 home computer via the recent Metal Gear Solid Master Collection. Like many games of the era, most of Metal Gear's story is written in its manual. I'll be using a fan translation of it for reference, linked in the description and pinned comment below. Seriously, props to the dude who did all of this translation. I could never imagine it. The year is 19XDX, and a military fortress established in the 80s deep in South Africa by a mad war hero, known as Outer Heaven, the base, not the war hero, has reportedly built some manner of super weapon. The Special Forces Infiltration Unit Foxhound sent their top agent Gray Fox to gather intel on what the weapon was. But Gray Fox lost contact with Foxhound HQ, with his last words being Metal Gear. Foxhound founder and commander Big Boss sends rookie agent Solid Snake into Outer Heaven to rescue Gray Fox, find out what the Metal Gear weapon is, and destroy it. Armed only with a radio and a pack of cigarettes, Snake infiltrates Outer Heaven's perimeter, shown as soon as you start the game. Big Boss immediately contacts Solid Snake to go over Operation Intrude N313, and to convey to the player that this is a sneaking mission first and foremost. You can't go in guns blazing or else you're dead meat. Once the cutscene's over, I'm given control and start exploring the first few areas of Outer Heaven. Since Snake doesn't start with any weapons, all I can do right now is walk in 4 directions, punch, and open an item menu and a weapon menu. The game is divided into separate screens, similar to the 2D Legend of Zelda games, but without the smooth scrolling transition between them, as was the style of microcomputer games of the time. I move up a screen, I come across a couple of guards. Oh shit, what am I gonna do? Oh wait, luckily for me, the guards in Metal Gear have the most severe case of tunnel vision possible, and can only see what's directly in front of them. They can't hear my footsteps either, so all I have to do is sneak by them when they're looking away from me. A couple of screens later, I come across some trucks, and I, of course, decide to go inside them. One holds some rations, which are health recovery items for this adventure. You can use one from the menu screen to heal instantly, or if you run out of health while you have the rations equipped on you, they'll instantly refill your health upon what would be your death. I noticed that if I keep entering and exiting the truck, the rations infinitely respawn. Good thing to note. Skipping ahead a bit, the respawn trick also applies to rooms with ammo in them, so if you ever need to grind for weapons and ammo, just keep entering and exiting until you get everything you need. One truck has our first of many key cards in it, and I head back to explore some more until I come across some more trucks that carry a pair of binoculars that I proceed to never use, a pistol that I proceed to use every now and then, and I get jumped by a guard while I was writing some notes down, triggering my first of many alerts. I guess now's a better time than any to talk about the alert system. See, when a guard or a security camera or a laser beam detects you, the guards go on alert and begin swarming you, trying to gun you down. There's actually 2 types of alert phases that are very subtly different from each other, and are indicated by whether the guard that spots you has 1 exclamation mark above his head or 2. 1 mark means the alert goes away on the next screen, while 2 means that the guards will follow you around the map until you either kill them all or enter a safe area like an elevator. Snake starts out with a pitiful amount of health and can barely hold any ammo at first, so it's best to stay out of sight as much as possible so you don't waste time running and or fighting guards, or, worse,
Die.
I wander around a bit, find a locked door, and equip my new keycard to open it, leading to a lone guard who decides to fall asleep standing up like he's some kind of horseman. Don't worry, dude, I'm an insomniac with a terminally fucked up sleep schedule myself. I get you. I relate to you. I won't rat you out. I will cave your face in, though, so I can snag this gas mask. Back on the main path, I see 2 guards standing by the elevator, so I wait here for their shift to end so I can get into the elevator undetected. Up on the next floor, I spot some surveillance cameras, and I get a call from Big Boss telling me not to get spotted by them. Thanks, boss. Wouldn't have figured that out on my own. I avoid the cameras, procure some ammo, and find a room with a tied-up POW who I proceed to save. You'll want to rescue every single one of these guys you come across, not only because some of them give you helpful hints, but rescuing a certain amount of POWs raises your rank, which both increases your max health and ammo count, and also becomes a requirement for story progression in a late part of the game. Do not, I repeat, do not, under any circumstances, kill any of them, or else you'll go down a rank, which can lead to your entire playthrough being softlocked, meaning you'll have to start from the very beginning. I venture into a room where my health starts draining due to a flow of poison gas. I get a call from Big Boss who says that, oops, he forgot to warn me of the deadly neurotoxin. The legendary soldier, Big Boss, everybody. He tells me to call Schneider, the leader of the resistance fighting Outer Heaven, but doesn't give me his frequency, and not wanting to look it up myself and coming prepared already, I equip my gas mask and casually stroll through the room. However, since keycards and the gas mask are both counted as equipable items, and I can only have one equipped at a time, I'm forced to take at least a bit of damage in order to unlock the door and exit the room. Dick move, guys, seriously. After a few more screens, I rescue another POW who tells me that Gray Fox is unharmed. I rescue another POW who tells me that Gray Fox is unharmed, which is some much needed good news in this nightmare scenario. I come across a room with a roller trap that kills you in one hit if you touch it, snag some C4, trigger another alert, panic, and grab my second key card. This segues into another major gripe that I have with Metal Gear, the way key cards work. First of all, each key is a separate inventory item, and there's 8 in total. That wouldn't be too bad on its own, but due to this being an MSX2 game from 1987, there's no visual indicator for what door corresponds to what key. This means that you eventually have to run into a door over and over and over and over and over again, cycling through each key until you find out which one opens it, then make a note of which door is unlocked by which key, or, if you're an idiot like yours truly, not do that and instead go through the key cycling rigmarole every time because you never thought to jot down the key door combinations. I feel like if we were to still work within the limitations of the MSX2 and therefore couldn't plaster signs or color codes for the locked doors to directly tell you what keys go with them, then the Metal Gear team could have just made the keys stack. What I mean by that is, say you have the first key, then you pick up key 2. Key 2 would replace key 1, and now automatically opens up level 1 and level 2 doors. Same goes for keys 3 through 8. I know from past experience that Metal Gear Solid would go with exactly what I suggested here, so I'm guessing that gamers even back then had some gripes with this key system as well. Oh well, every first installment is going to have its share of bad design choices. You gotta learn from your mistakes after all. I come across an electrified floor, which Big Boss helpfully tells me I'll need a remote missile to deactivate. So I head back a few rooms and explore some more until I find the remote missile in question, free another POW, get ambushed by some guards in a surprise boss fight, kill them all in a few seconds thanks to my pistol, get a silencer for said pistol so I can comfortably use it without alerting the entire base now, backtrack to the electric floor screen, fire the missile and guide it to destroy the switch box and deactivate the electricity. Jesus Christ, that was a mouthful of stuff. Why'd I write it like that? I find another POW who gives me the frequency for a woman named Diane. I try to call her, and I get zip not a zilch, so I don't bother trying to call her ever again. With this floor covered for now, I head to the elevator, move to another floor, and instantly get spotted by some cameras.
Oh, man!
After all of this, I've finally rescued enough POWs to level up, and this one that I just rescued tells me that Gray Fox is being held in a secret prison cell. I grab an SMG, begin gleefully cackling about raining bullets on all those who oppose me, but then I remember that it doesn't have a suppressor and snap back to reality. The next POW I saved finally told me how to find Gray Fox. I just have to let myself get captured. Easy, right? So I wander into a secluded corner, get caught by some guards, and get thrown into the slammer.
All according to K-Cock.
Big Boss calls me to tell me that I can punch the walls to find which one of them is breakable, which should lead directly to Gray Fox's cell. So I start punching every bit of wall until I find a spot that makes a different noise and makes a question mark appear above Snake's head. Then go JoJo on it until the wall breaks, revealing a hidden room containing Gray Fox. Alright, mission accomplished! Or, first part of our mission at least. The freed Gray Fox explains that Metal Gear is a giant bipedal tank that can launch a nuclear strike anywhere on Earth, and the only man who knows how to destroy this doomsday weapon is Metal Gear's creator, Dr. Drago Petrovich Madnar. God, my accent was horrible there, I apologize. With my new goal in mind, I break out of prison and get ambushed by our first proper boss fight, the Shotmaker, whose name makes me think of the Shockmaster. You guys know the Shockmaster, right? Cue the Shockmaster.
He is none other than the Shock Master! All right! The Shock Master! I told you.
They call me the Shockmaster.
With no weapons at hand, I can't fight this guy just yet, so I punch a door open, grab my stolen equipment, chuck out a bug that was planted in it, return to the arena, spray off some SMG fire at the Shotmaker, and beat him in a couple seconds thanks to the magic of high-velocity lead. I grab the third key card and move onward to new frontiers. The next room has some guard dogs laying in wait, and against my own desires, I have to put the puppers down so they don't maul me to death. I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this! I find another fake wall that won't fall to my fist, blow it up with some C4, and grab myself a bomb blast suit before hitching a ride on the elevator to a floor that greets me with a set of security lasers that I can only see by contracting acute myeloid leukemia. Next up is another boss fight, this time against Machine Gun Kid, who I beat in a couple seconds thanks to the SMG. I grab a parachute, rescue another POW, and learn that in order to get to the courtyard of Building 1, I need to parachute off the top of the roof. A few sleeping guards and an electric floor later, I find a pair of IR goggles that let me see lasers without charring my lungs. I take an elevator ride, grab a cardboard box, ride the elevator again, and finally make my way to the roof, where Big Boss tells me to use the blast suit to avoid being blown away by the strong wind. I carefully cross a shaking bridge that totally didn't trigger my fear of heights, as well as some childhood memories of when me and my dad went to the mountains and had to cross a shaky metal bridge suspended over a chasm where he intentionally shook it to scare me because he thought it was funny, get spotted by guards wearing jetpacks, panic once again, and die. It's here that I learned that dying sends you back to the beginning of the current floor, so I pause the game to save in case something fucky happens. After saving my game, I grab a mine detector, try my best to avoid the flying guards, and finally come across my next boss fight. A Hind D. What's a Russian gunship doing here? Oh wait, wrong Metal Gear game. This is the first boss fight where I can't just spray and pray with my SMG, but fortunately, I beat it in a couple seconds thanks to my grenade launcher that I completely forgot to mention that I got earlier. With the final roadblock of this building out of the way, I parachute off the roof, land in the courtyard, check out a nearby truck, and then the truck moves me all the way back to the beginning of Building 1. So I save my game and backtrack all the way to where I was just a few seconds ago, noting to not get in that truck this time. I grab card number 4, find the room where Dr. Madnar is supposedly being held, and discover that he was moved to another location, which a nearby POW helpfully tells me is in Building 2. So I traverse the desert, check out a truck, and it once again moves me back, with me reacting accordingly. After a bit of backtracking, I find that something is firing shells from off-screen, and that thing in question turns out to be a tank. I start laying down mines to try to destroy it and die in the process, sending me back a few screens. No trouble though, because I came up with a new strategy. Get beside the tank and spam it with mines so it can't shoot back at me. Perfect! Except for the fact that this plan goes tits up because going anywhere near the tank's hitbox is an instant death. Attempt number 3! I get into a pattern of laying mines in its path and luring it back and forth until the tank finally explodes and I celebrate with a victory screech. I finally make it to the outskirts of Building 2, where Big Boss calls me to tell me that I need an enemy uniform to sneak past the guards and that he's switching frequencies from now on. Shit, I'm gonna have to go back, aren't I? I once again returned to Building 1, used my cardboard box to sneak past security cameras and hide from guards like any snake worth his name would, die again, reload, return to the prison area, blow up a fake wall inside the spiral maze from earlier, and finally get my hands on the enemy uniform. Please tell me that's all I need here. I take the slow route back to the desert where the tank is respawned somehow, meaning I have to do it all over again, and let me tell you, after this, if I had to do it all over again, I'd probably say, stick it up your ass. I once again reached the outside of Building 2, equipped my new enemy uniform, and the guards let me right in. That was easy, except for all the backtracking I had to do, of course. It's here that I realized while writing this that I haven't said much about Metal Gear's presentation, so please allow me to get sidetracked on that topic. Now, I'm a millennial who's lived in the US his whole life, so I'm obviously no expert on the capabilities of the MSX2 platform, other than the fact that there were a not insignificant amount of ports back and forth between the NES, the Sega Master System, and the MSX family, so I can only assume that's comparable, if not a bit weaker, than the other two dominant consoles of the era. As such, it makes sense that Metal Gear doesn't do too much in terms of mind-blowing graphics, but it does look quite nice for a game from 1987. Sprites are well drawn and clearly defined, the various areas of Outer Heaven are visually distinct, ensuring that you always know exactly where you are, and the game runs at a smooth frame rate with little to no slowdown, even in hectic firefights and chases. Compare this, once again, to The Legend of Zelda, where the sprites look primitive for a mid-80s game, many areas of the map were near identical, and navigating the overworld of Hyrule was a major headache without outside help. On the other hand, though, sound effects and music leave something to be desired. Gunshots and explosions are understandably understated, due to limitations of the hardware, but are loud enough and distinct enough to let you know when you score a hit or when you take damage. This is especially true in boss fights, where the damage sound raises in pitch when the boss is close to death, something that I haven't seen much of, if any of, in games of that era. However, and this is admittedly a personal preference, taking down enemies and especially bosses doesn't have nearly a satisfying enough sound. Enemies just make a quick poof sound, while bosses, in particular vehicle bosses, lack that satisfying 8-bit explosion to send them off, making your victory feel less adrenaline pumping and more, well, I guess I won. The music in the game is likewise simple in its compositions and lacking in variety, a far cry from what the series would become known for. Most of the game has this short 10-second or so loop playing over and 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 over again until it haunts your dreams. It does get replaced by a new droning loop later on in the game, but by then it's just replacing one boring track with another. If this loop, called Theme of Tara, wasn't the main song I heard throughout my playthrough, I doubt it would have gotten lodged in my head like it is as I'm editing this. Basically, it needs more variety to break up the monotony. Inside Building 2, I continue to sneak past the enemy forces, to varying levels of success, end up in a drainage ditch and get cornered by a bulldozer. Time for our next boss fight. A few explosives later, and it's defeated. I come across a laser field that I expertly navigate. Note, I may not have expertly navigated it, I'm kind of a noob at this. Find a signal boosting antenna and get a call from Big Boss telling me that I need to find said antenna to prevent my codec from getting jammed. After I already found it. Whoops. After another ride in the elevator, I find another POW who tells me that I can find Dr. Madnar in the dungeon, so I find card key 5 and head further down, get a call from Schneider warning me that the other rooms on this floor are filled with poison gas, personally thank Schneider for actually being helpful unlike Big Boss, navigate the gas-filled maze thanks to my handy-dandy gas mask, avoid another roller trap, rescue a POW who tells me how to escape from this floor and gives me my final rank upgrade. Max health, max ammo, I am ready to go. I fumble around until I find a room with Dr. Magnar in it. Finally! But it's an imposter. Fuck. I snag card key 6, find the exit, and encounter our next Merc boss, Fire Trooper, who I beat in a couple seconds thanks to the power of guns. I guess that old Sean Connery movie was right all along.
The gun is good. The gun is good. The penis is evil.
On the next floor, I find a POW who tells me how to get into Building 3, pilfer a flashlight that I never end up using in this playthrough, find another POW who tells me to call a woman named Jennifer, with the caveat that she'll only talk to high-ranking officers. I call her with my fancy max level rank, and she's impressed enough to leave me an RPG. I check every other room I feasibly can and grab an antidote, find one more POW who tells me I'll need a compass to cross the desert between buildings 2 and 3. I wonder to myself what the hell kind of geography Outer Heaven has if this micronation is somehow coastal, has mountains and deserts spaced in the middle of it, and whether it was naturally like this or if it was man-made, and navigate my way through roller and pit traps before battling a duo of mini-bosses. The legally distinct, the best kind of distinct, Arnold Schwarzenegger stand-ins, Bloody Brad, who I beat in a couple seconds thanks to the RPG that Jennifer gave me. Thanks, Jennifer. Jennifer. Bloody Brad leaves behind card 7, and with all the cards' power combined, I finally find the real Dr. Madnar. Hooray! But he refuses to tell me how to defeat Metal Gear unless I rescue his daughter Ellen, who's all the way back in Building 1. Oh, for fuck's sake! During my trip back to Building 1, I came across what would quickly become the bane of my playthrough of this game. The instant death pits that appear out of nowhere with almost no chance to escape from their spawn points. The latter parts of Metal Gear seem to be chock full of these gotcha traps, where the only way to avoid them is to know where they'll pop up and what their hitboxes are beforehand. Now, I'm sure that someone will correct me on this in the comments, in which case, I genuinely appreciate the info and will keep it in mind for the next time I play this game. But I also have to question how a newcomer is supposed to know about these, especially back in the late 80s with no internet. After way too many deaths, I find Ellen Madnar, grab some body armor and a compass to protect me and guide me through the desert respectively, and return to Dr. Madnar, who tells me how to destroy the Metal Gear by placing C4 on its feet in a specific pattern. Except for the last step, which he conveniently forgot. Oh boy, my favorite. 50-50 guesswork. One trek across the desert later, and I arrive at the dreaded Metal Gear hangar building, where Big Boss calls me and starts giving me advice that makes no sense, like, go into this room full of guards. I die repeatedly, grab an oxygen tank, and Big Boss shatters the fourth wall by telling me to turn the game off.
I think you are a sussy baka!
I backtracked to that water-filled passage back in Building 2 and followed the wise words of Ed, bringer of bacon.
Man the hounds! Dive!
I suddenly get a call from Schneider saying that he knows who the Outer Heaven leader is, but he gets cut off before revealing it. Next up is a boss fight with Dirty Duck, a gunman who uses POWs as a human shield. This is probably the only human boss you don't want to use the SMG on due to its wild firing pattern, as one stray bullet will kill a POW, which not only lowers your rank, but a specific one dying can apparently lock you out of beating the game because it makes one of your support staff stop talking to you at a critical point or something like that. I think demoting you and lowering your max health and ammo is punishment enough. There's no need to double down on it. Once Dirty Duck gets thoroughly roasted, I can grab card 8, free the POWs, learn which ladder to climb up during an escape sequence later on, and finally, after all this time, go after Metal Gear. Now let's just hope that I don't do something monumentally stupid like step into a truck that takes me back to the beginning.
They ask you how you are, and you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
After all that backtracking, it's time to ride the elevator all the way down to floor B100. A POW I rescue in the bowels of Outer Heaven tells me that the real leader of this army is none other than Big Boss himself.
Squeak.
I probably would have been more surprised about this if, A, I hadn't already played the other games before this, and, B, if the legendary soldier didn't already make it abundantly clear that I shouldn't trust him as soon as I got here. But for this early stage of video game storytelling, it's, not too bad of a twist. Alright, all that stands between me and nuclear-equipped walking death tank is an electric floor. There's no way to turn it off, so I just have to run for it. And here we are, right in front of the inactive Metal Gear. Just because no one's driving this thing, that doesn't mean it'll be easy. There's still lasers shooting at me. Let's get the pattern down, take a guess on the last charge, and... boom! Metal Gear is toast, and the self-destruct timer's armed and ticking down. Gotta make it out of here, but not without a showdown with Big Boss face to face. I pump him full of missiles until he croaks, equip my smokes to slow down the escape timer somehow, climb up the correct ladder, and boom! Outer Heaven gets leveled with a nuclear strike. Snake calls HQ to report a successful mission. Radio K&K chimes in, reporting that Outer Heaven and Metal Gear were destroyed by an earthquake. That's an obvious cover-up if I've ever seen one. And the credits roll. So with all that behind me, what are my final thoughts on Metal Gear? Well, while there's more than its fair share of cryptic bullshit, gotcha traps, over-reliance on backtracking, repetitive music, easily abused enemy AI, and the constant keycard conga every time you need to unlock a door, I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy looking at the Metal Gear Saga's origins. If you've got a tolerance for 80s-era adventure game jank, plus a walkthrough to refer to if you get stuck, I'd say Metal Gear is worth checking out for those interested in gaming history. If you're not willing to put up with old school, at times frustratingly outdated game mechanics though, I'd suggest skipping this one, as its story is barely there, and it mostly serves as a curiosity rather than essential Metal Gear homework. And here comes the part where I tease the next game I'm gonna review, but first I need to address how long this one video took me to complete. I started recording and scripting what ultimately became part 1 all the way back in January of 2025, chipped away at it off and on until May, and then obviously took more than half a year to get part 2 out. I think I bit off a bit more than I can chew with this kind of review format, so for Metal Gear 2, I'm going to rethink my approach so I don't keep burning myself out on the scripting and editing portions. Thank you so much to everyone who waited patiently for me to finish this video, even if it obviously took way longer than I expected or hoped. I hope you'll continue to stick around for the second installment of this Metal Gear retrospective, as we tackle Hideo Kojima's swan song for the MSX2, Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake. I've been Arikado. Remember to like, subscribe, leave a comment, all that jazz, and until next time, unpleasant dreams.